Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Friday, August the 29th, 2025, and today's topic I'm going to call it just kind of rounding up the things that I learned and like tips. So I'll just call it tips for painting. So yeah, with that said, welcome back if you're returning and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day. I use a timer to stay focused and to build a habit. I'll start a 10-minute timer. So these are tips. Like, just check out tutorials, whether it's mine or someone else's or whatever. So check out tutorials. 2 is start with like basic materials. Like, for example, like these markers, they were just part of like a basic set. The idea is to not get everything and just to see what you can do. And that's what the tutorials will help with, and that's what I'll go over today. So the third thing would be the methodology. So that's what I'll go over today, sort of like the methodology. And I go over this a lot, but a lot of times it's not for color or painting, but it's for like pen and ink. This is the equivalent of like a doodle, like with a pen. Because it's color, the color affects the picture, so that's why it's good to play around with these swatches. But then let's work on like the sketch. And these are just from reference, but I'm not like trying to make it look just like the person. I wouldn't necessarily start with color work. I would start with pencil or a pen and then move to color. But I mean, feel free to obviously just do whatever you feel like. Because once you get here, you kind of don't want to be thinking about like how do you draw like heads. You probably just want to just kind of sketch and draw like different heads using a pencil or a pen or something like that. So the color scheme here was the pink right here and then like the white paint. So that would be like the pink is like the base color and then the white is like it's actually like the mid-tone. And so I'm just going to work with that. I'm going to use pink as kind of the base and not really even think about like the dark color just yet. So I'm going to use it to just get the shapes. And that's the thing with painting, is that you can just get the shapes without having to draw it. You can just paint the shape. So for example, like if this side of the face is darker, I'm just going to go ahead and use this as like the dark color. And then I'll let it dry. So we're moving from the doodle to like the sketch stage of it. So for example, like right here, I'm just using that as the dark, like this one, for now. So here's a different color, skin tone. So in this one, some of it is coming from the background color. So I'm just gonna just put this in real quick. And so the color scheme here was purple with the orange and then the white color. So I'm just using this white color here. So this is the light part right here. And I would just keep it simple. So we're going from like a doodle to a more of like a sketch, which is kind of like this. This is a sketch, and I wouldn't and this is more detailed right here. And I wouldn't necessarily make that more detailed. Like this one, actually, I didn't use a marker or a pen because that's more detailed. And so if it were a thumbnail, I'd probably just leave it and then do like a bigger version of it if I want, or just use it as like a study. But that's how much detail you can get with like a brush size that's like this. And then you can go in and add more detail with like a pen if you want. Then it turns into more of a finished painting. So I'll leave that one. I'm going to use black. Just kind of go like this. But yeah, take your time with the sketch. I mean, once you doodle something and kind of get some colors down, because part of this is it shows you like the color palette. That's a big part of it right there. And if you're still kind of struggling with like drawing heads, for example, I would just practice drawing heads for a while. I'm going to see what this color it is, so I'm just going to use a marker for it. So for example, this is like a mixture of like drawing and painting. So I'm going to use this as like the shade, but you would still, it's basically the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that the shadow part of it, or the shaded part of it. So you'll notice that like it was different here. I just used the paint for that, but you won't get as much definition. And that's about as much as I can get like with this. So this one, I'm going to actually use like a smaller brush pen. But that's what I'm saying about knowing how to draw the face. You just kind of, I mean, this is one way of using color that's simple that could help. So yeah, it's just kind of it's an example of what you can do. Have fun with it. One thing I will say is you can't really rush any of it. So now these aren't so much doodles, they're more like sketches at this point. So I'm gonna use this pink color as like the darker color. So I'm just going to decide that's the shaded part of it. So since this video is about tips, so that's like the method. So this is like the sketch, and then you start to tighten up. Like that's still to me like considered a sketch. So that's a little bit further along. So I'll just kind of work on this for a bit just to show you the next stage, which would be still sketching basically. But I would say that this one is a little bit more than a sketch. Like there's details in it. Just like I think with this one, it's still a sketch. Like there's like another stage that I could actually push this more. But like if it was just going to be a thumbnail and I just wanted to know kind of like the color combo and just the overall feel of it, then I would do like a different picture, or I could detail that if I really wanted to. So one thing is you could add highlights to like bring out the form. So for example, like right here, again, this is part of like how to draw heads. That's how you start to add more detail. It's still like sketchy. kind of keep refining it, and depending on the size of the brush, you can only get so much like detail out of a thumbnail. If you can get to this point, like again, the method, so I'll jot down the method, and this is similar to if you were doing a pen and ink drawing. So the method is 1, the sketch, which can also start as a doodle. The next would be like because it's color, it's a little bit different, but it's basically the shading, which is also like the light and dark. So it's kind of what I did there. You're emphasizing the light and dark, like you're showing that the light's coming from this way, but then because it's color, for example, like the dark color here was actually pink, but then here was like green. Then the next thing would be the detail. To detail it, if it's a thumbnail and you're just using these brush pens, something kind of like this, that's about as detailed as you can get. I mean, you can keep messing with it, but if you use like a pen, you can go in and like add more detail. But that's like a thumbnail. That's if you want a tiny painting. So this is part of the 4-week commitment to sketching, and Friday is complete. So yeah, all the links will be in the description. I want to thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine, and if you enjoy these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.